We're good to go. Good morning, everyone. And welcome again to another exciting session of our NGO Organizational Effectiveness Workshop, brought to you by American Spaces in Nigeria, with support from the US Consulate General in Lagos, and implemented by Hasty Health Initiative. My name is Stephanie Adesanya. I'm your host, moderator for today, and I'm the director for the American Corner Ikeja. It's my pleasure to welcome you all this morning, this wonderful morning again. Thank you so much for joining us again today. Our speaker is already here, so we're just going to go ahead and get started. You already know our speaker. His name is Chibuzo Agumo, and is a youth development professional with over 11 years of professional experience. He's also an author of the book, Rising at Sunrise, a youth development book currently read in over 12 countries. He's a 2018 Mandela Washington Fellow and currently serves as a youth engagement specialist on the Community Engagement Exchange Program at the US Department of State. So this is our second session, and it's our pleasure to welcome Chibuzo again this morning. Thank you for last week, and we look forward to what you have in stock for us this week. So Chibuzo, if you're ready, the stage is all yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I also want to thank the American Spaces for choosing Okay. So today we'll be looking at unit 3 and 4. First of all, I would like us to do a review of some of the things we looked at in the last session. I would like to hear from some of us because we've been handling program development, and we have looked at what program development is and why it's essential. It's an integral part of if you're trying, for example, project management is an integral part of it. And also, if you've done human-centered design, you will agree with me that it's essential too for human-centered design. Some of the things we talked about when discussing on program development the last time. So I would like to hear from some of us, review of the last class, and also some of the things we talked, because we looked at needs assessment. We started with the planning process. We looked at surveys. So it would be really nice to hear from some of us your insights regarding those three areas as we discussed in the last class. So you could unmute yourself with the permission of the admin. You could unmute yourself and share your insights with us before we begin today's session. Anyone? The room seems quiet today. What happened? Okay, maybe you could use the chat box, and I will read your contribution to everyone. I think that is very needed because there are some persons who could be joining today for the first time and would love to know what we discussed in our last session. So your insight would really, really help. Do I sing a nursery rhyme while we wait? Okay. So maybe in the course of today's class, you would feel free to share. And another thing, today is Monday, so we know how Mondays can be. So we'll go on with our class for today. I would need assistance with the slides um, today. But before we begin, there was a story I shared in the last session, and I shared that story to really depict the importance of this class we're handling, program development. Um, how taking proper notes of the things we've talked about, needs assessment, um, the surveys, which also includes uh, the baseline survey, and also the stakeholders consultation and the community forums. We really stress the importance of those engagements because um, when proper planning is not done before a program is initiated, you are bound to lose resources. It's bound to happen. And you don't want to be caught in a situation where people feel like you don't know what you're doing, or you end up wasting resources of funders. For example, if you happen to get funding from uh, the U.S. consulate, for example, to implement a project, of course, it's guaranteed that you must have really done your program design and everything. But if you don't, there is bound to be a problem. There's bound to be a problem. I hope you can hear me better now. Okay, I'll try to be a lot more audible. So there's bound to be problems if they discover that you've not really done your foundation work properly, and I bet you're most likely not going to get funding from them anymore. So what makes you a professional and makes you produce um, very reasonable results that is based on science and data um, is when you consider programs development, you are able to look at the issue affecting that community from a 360-degree angle. And you are able to provide a holistic and a robust um, solution to that particular need that you intend to solve. And we also stressed why program development is important because it helps us, in particular, needs assessment, because needs assessment helps us separate the real need from the apparent need. There is what we call apparent need or apparent problem, but there is also what we call real problem. So sometimes people get to pursue the apparent problem. I gave the story of a particular organization in partnership with the government. This happened in Nigeria in one of the rural communities. They felt that providing modern fishing tools for certain fishermen in this riverine area would really improve their livelihood and do better for them. And a lot of resources, tens of millions of naira, was spent in getting all of these equipment, thinking that that would really solve the problem or help, will serve as a poverty alleviation um, tool for that community. Only to discover that after months of getting these resources and maybe they did trainings, I don't know. But after a few months, these fishermen left those expensive modern fishing tools to go back to their canoes, went back using their canoes and their nets. And those boats were lying in waste. You see, the resources invested into that project just went wasted completely. And in the last session, I had asked some of us, have you encountered situations or have you worked on a project where the organization thought they had found the tool to solve a particular problem, or they knew what the community needed, and in the process they discovered that the tool they had um, assumed that would work as an intervention for that community was nothing. And it can be a very terrible situation to be in. You find yourself trapped in the middle of the project. You've already wasted resources, and now you can't go back, you can't move forward. You are in a state that is something we do not want to be in. So today we're going to look at Unit 3 and Unit 4. We'll begin with Unit 3. I believe there is an assessment that was made available to some of us to test and see if we were able to recall some of the things we discussed in the last class. And before I continue, I would want this session to be a bit more interactive. Last class was really vibrant. I want this to be vibrant. I know you would need your coffee. It's Monday and you are missing the weekend, but I would like for us to be a bit vibrant today and share your experiences, because I know that some of the persons that are part of this session are civil society experts as well, and sharing your insights too into program development will really, really benefit us all. All right, so I would like for the slide to be moved to 3. Could we take the slide forward, please? Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. So in Unit 3, we're looking at developing mission, goals, and objectives. So you have done the planning process, which involves needs assessment and baseline study. So now with the data you have gotten, you are now able to develop a mission for this program. You're now able to develop goals. You are now able to develop objectives. And then these are these are like the compass with which both you, if you happen to be the leader of the program, maybe program director or what have you, this is like the compass with which your team members would use to know the direction the program is headed to, what it entails. And one of the things we talked about in the last class was that there should be a document which would involve the mission and the goals and the objectives in very, very clear terms for members of the implementation team to be able to read and understand and know where the project is and where the project is heading to. Because sometimes a new team member could join the project in the middle of the project, or maybe as the team leader, you may be out of the way and someone else might come in to lead. So having this document, which has the missions and the goals and the objectives is very essential. But of course, it has to be hinged, all of these have to be hinged on the data you've gotten. And so the purpose of this unit explains the purpose of conducting a needs assessment and how program assessment can be useful in documenting programs and their effects. And also in determining the gaps and unmet needs and improving the service delivery in your community. So our learning objectives for this Monday's class is that by the end of this unit, we are able to understand why mission statements are essential, and we are also able to write an effective mission statement. Also, by the end of this class, we should be able to explain why program goals are necessary. And also, we should be able to explain how to write realistic, time-framed, and measurable goals. So that's what we'll be looking at in this unit. So we'll move to the next slide, which is the mission statement. So after completing a needs assessment, you will have the information you need to develop reasonable goals. You should establish goals that accurately reflect potential solutions to the problems found during the needs assessment. The mission statement must be written so that it reflects the ideals of the people working in and for your organization. Everyone should feel ownership value and be committed to the mission of the organization. And yes, the mission statement regarding this program is so important that it reflects the value of the organization, because the people who joined that organization joined because of the vision of the organization, the vision. So there is that, they feel that kindred spirit, that the vision bonds them, is what brings them together. And so if the mission statement is not in sync with the vision of the organization, then there will be conflict of interest. And also your partner organizations, the partner organizations working with you, the mission statement has to also reflect their values and their vision. Because if something changes along the line and it doesn't reflect their vision and their values, there is definitely going to be conflict of interest. It's going to be challenging. So the mission statement should be brief, clear, and concise. It should state the organization's name. That is, it should state what nonprofit, what type of nonprofit it is, and also what it does, for whom for whom and for where. So it's very important that it's clearly, the document should be one that if a person opens it to read it, they can have a full understanding of the people working on this project. Oh, we know this organization is for this, and this is what they are to do, and we know that they are competent and capable of handling these interventions. So we'll go to the next slide. So here is what can serve as a very good guide to help you build an effective mission statement. And it has 4 parts. An effective mission statement has 4 parts. And I would like you to take note of it. I told us in the last class that usually when I'm in a class like this, I like doing some drawings to show that I'm on a journey, so that by the time I get to my destination, it's like a diagrammatic way of helping me follow the lessons and recall the course of the lesson. So an effective mission statement has the following. Number 1, it has purpose or needs that your group will address. That is clearly stated. What purpose, what need is your organization addressing? Is it a health need? Is it a waste management need? Is it an education need? It has to be clearly stated, the purpose of the group, the purpose of the organization. The next thing it should announce is it should be able to explain the business of your group. The business of your group. So what are you dedicated to solving? What exactly are you involved in? Are you doing? And then the third part, an effective mission statement should show your guiding value. Your guiding value. So what are the things that what are the boundaries of your organization? What are the things that form the core or form an integral part of the fabric or the fiber of that organization, which of course the values are the integral thing. So you have to state it there so that everyone who is a stakeholder in that project knows that, okay, this is what you're for. And okay, we can join you on it, or maybe we can't join you on it because values do not align. So this is an effective way of making sure that you have the right human resource to help you on that program. And the last one, your mission statement should be able to define or state who will benefit from your work. You should be able to state that clearly. Who is benefiting from your work? Is it children under the age of 10? Is it young girls between 15 and 24? Is it elderly women between 55 and 80? The demographic should be clearly stated in your mission statement. So we go to the next slide. So here is a very important aspect of program development, which is setting goals. And of course, if there are no goals for a program, then it is not, then just know that that program is not going to happen. You are not going to get the most out of it. You are not going to get the results that you seek. It's going to be like a blind man leading a blind man. So the goals of a program are actually the eyes of the program. That's how I define it. They are the eyes of the program. They help you see the direction the program is headed to. They help you see, judge the level of impact it is creating. They help you know whether you're actually on the right track or whether you have lost your way in the course of implementing that program. So you must develop specific strategies to achieve those goals based on evidence about methods that have demonstrated success with the program's target population. It should be the cornerstone against which everything done on the project is measured. A good project goal statement is SMART. So we must have heard of SMART goals, SMART goals, SMART goals. It's not anything new. So it's an acronym for the goal must be specific, the goal must be measurable, the goal must be achievable. In this case, we are saying agreeable because in many projects, collaborative effort is incorporated. So it has to be agreeable, it has to be relevant, and it has to be time bound. So I would want us to still go back to that slide. I want us to go back to that slide. Yeah. Okay. So I would want us to go to SMART and the S, specific. So we can begin from there. I know that we have heard of this SMART goals time and time again, but it bears repeating. It's important we keep talking about it, especially as it relates to program development, because goals are very essential. Like I said, they are the eyes of the program. So when we say the goals should be specific, here is what we mean. We mean that a specific goal is usually better than a general goal. A specific goal should answer the question, who, what, where, when, which, and why. So it has to be specific. So it has to define the demographic. It has to clearly define the demographic. It has to clearly define what the project is about, who the project is for. Yeah, like I mentioned about the demographic. So it has to be specific. And the second part is it has to be measurable. So if you cannot measure it, you cannot control it. In other words, a goal must be quantifiable. The goal statement is a yardstick for the project. If the goal is completed, the project is a success. Measuring progress keeps you focused on the goal. So what do you mean by measurable? If you're going to a community and you have done your needs assessment and you've seen that 10,000 people in that community are in need of XYZ intervention. Of course, it is not a 100% guarantee that your intervention is going to solve the need of every single member of the demographic you're targeting 100%. It's not, I mean, it's like saying we're going to provide skills acquisition training, or we're going to make sure that everybody, every low income earner in Nigeria earns well to take care of their family. That's not a measurable goal. Measurable goal is a goal that you can say, our goal is that by the end of this period, 30% of the members in that demographic should have maximally benefited from this program. By the end of this period, we must have seen so and so amount improvement in 45%, maybe in 20%, maybe in 15%. So it has to be measurable. We need to know the the level, what you may consider success. For you, maybe you may consider success as reaching 30% of the people in that demographic in that community. You may consider reaching 50% as success. So a goal being measurable means that you are able to define what the level, what success is for you. You know, what percentage would you say, yes, this intervention has been successful? So that's what measurable is about. Then the third one, agreeable. Your goal should be achievable, acceptable, and agreed upon. Of course, with the people working on the project alongside you, and yeah, the necessary stakeholders involved in that intervention. You should be able to recognize its strong points and weak points. These things can be used to increase your level of achievement. Yes, I'm going to touch a bit on agreeable, which also doubles as achievable, because in implementing a project and in providing an intervention for a community, it is very important that you consider the the bright spots and the landmines. There are always what you call bright spots and landmines. So the bright spots are, the areas where, there are certain interventions you bring to a community and you begin to see the impact begins to have a ripple effect on other areas. It may be a project on health. Before you know it, it's beginning to affect education positively, it's beginning to do that and all of that. But there are also moments where an intervention, you could bring in an intervention and there are the landmines. If you're not careful, if you are not really observant, you could get into trouble. So, for example, it's like going to implement a project in the Niger Delta area. Let's say it's a community where there are militants, and you do not consider the landmine, which is people who are prone to vandalizing. Maybe it's an infrastructure you're bringing in. You're not considering that. That's a landmine. So a project being agreeable must be such that with the help of the team, you're able to look at the bright spots of the program and the landmine, of the program, so that you are able to manage the situation and make sure that you get the utmost results that you seek in that community. So we go to the next one, which is R. The next slide, please. Realistic. Some people call it relevant. Realistic. So a goal must correspond to a task that you have the motivation and capability to complete. A goal must be doable. Do not plan to do something if you cannot follow through. So being realistic there is you must have the competence. You must have the expertise to implement this program. You can't just assume that, oh, when we go into it, things are going to work out well, when you don't have the capability of doing so, when you don't have the workforce, when you don't have substantial experience to go into it. So your goal has to be realistic. And C, time frame. You could also call it time bound. Here it says time frame. A goal must have a beginning and an end. So you, in stating your goal, you have to make it clear that by the end of 2023 or by the end of 2025, we must have been able to reach 25% of children in this community providing XYZ interventions to them. So this is what makes your project, may look at it and say, this project has direction. And we're not feeling as people in the middle of the desert. We know where we are and we know where we're headed to. So like I said at the beginning when we talked about SMART goals, I know it's something we've heard time and time again, but it bears repeating because in designing a program, in program development, you cannot exclude it because goals are the eyes of the program and they are actually the rubric with which you are able to determine whether the project is producing results or not, whether the intervention is producing the outcomes that you seek or not. So we go to the next slide, which is Unit 4. Unit 4. And Unit 4 is very, very, very essential. Identifying funding sources. Identifying funding sources. Funding is at the core of every program. Because there are certain things you can get. Volunteers could say, oh, we don't need a stipend, we would help you work on this program. The partners could say, okay, we could provide so and so material, so long as we are mentioned as one of your key partners. You know, you could get certain things done without financial resource. But there are certain things that money should buy, and you need to get those things. And of course, that's where funding comes in. So we're going to look at the different funding sources we can explore when developing a program and when implementing a program. So we move to the next slide. So we're going to look at the purpose of this unit. This is Unit 4. What's the purpose of this unit? This unit offers effective strategies for identifying funding sources to support programmatic mission, goals, and objectives. So you can't have your mission and your goals and your objectives and then not have the required resources to implement them. If you don't have the required resources, they will just sit them in paper, and implementation will definitely be a problem. So what are the learning objectives? The objective of this unit is to ensure that by the end of this class, you are able to identify major sources of funding, and that you are also able to identify ways to develop and improve relationships with funding agencies. These are very important. And we go to the next slide. All right, so funding sources. The success of your program may very well depend on the ability to obtain resources to support programmatic missions, goals, and objectives. So identifying funding sources is a very important step in the program planning process. You may not be able to obtain all the resources through voluntary contributions or networking. So some resources must be purchased, which is why funding sources are critical to success. These include foundations, local, state, and federal governments, and other benevolent organizations. Other sources for funding community programs include community fundraising, foundation grants, and government grants and contracts. Yes. So, well, let me continue to say before I say the things I want to, so I do not jump certain essential things. Generally, it takes at least 12 months to obtain funding. So it is important to identify early on the sources early on from which you hope to receive the money needed to successfully implement your program. However, first you have to determine how much money is needed. So in our next class, we're going to look at budgeting, and that is going to help us decide what amount you need for a program and how to go about creating a very, very clear budget. You should also develop relationships with funding agencies. There are a number of methods that can be used to develop relationships. When attempting to raise money through grant proposals, it is very important to build peer-to-peer relationships. You should attempt to build a relationship with the decision maker. Although the funder representative may have considerably more power, Most decision makers want to be treated as a peer. Each decision maker is unique with his or her own standards, with each with his or her own standard priorities, interest, and degrees of power in the grant making decision. Your task is to determine who in the organization has decision making authority and how, in a non obstructive fashion, you can obtain that person's support. Yeah, so I had to read all of that so I don't skip anything. Funding is so important. And many times when we think about funding, we only think about grant. By the time we go to the next slide, we're going to look at the different funding options. But here is something I want to say to support what we've read here on the slide. Getting funding depends a lot on your soft skills. Soft skills development is very important. Your ability to network, your ability to tell your story, the story of what you're doing in your community, your ability to build partnerships is very, very critical because they tend to be a problem when we keep or fixate our minds on getting grants. It does not really ensure the sustainability of the program because there are moments where you might experience a dry spell when it comes to getting grants. What are you going to do in those moments to ensure that that program keeps running? So this is why this part is very, 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 very important, and we're going to look at it very, very closely. So we're going to go to the next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. So the first on the list is community fundraising. Community fundraising. So it says here, community fundraising is initiated in a process called webbing. Webbing, the idea is from like a cobweb, It has different, what I call it, tentacles. Yeah, so networking. So webbing consists of building a network of supporters for your organization. Generally, you will need to determine who your supporters are, whom they know, and what they can do for you. Proposal writing skills coupled with a web of contacts and advocates can make the difference between success and failure. Complete a data contact form for all possible supporters. Once you have identified people, organizations, businesses, or groups that can serve as resources, you should communicate with them to identify the kind and amount of resources and services they would be willing to offer in support of your program. Webbing can also help you identify non-monetary resources such as speakers, support groups, and sources of referral for your program. So I'm going to dwell a bit on this community fundraising. This is so important. I'm going to use myself as an example. When I started my organization years ago, I wasn't applying for grants. In fact, I thought that I'll be wasting my time because at that time I felt I didn't really have the expertise and the workforce to build trust in funders. So I said there was no need. And because I was really bent on providing a solution for my community, I took to this route to fundraise. So I was able to use the element of photography and storytelling, thanks to social media, to tell about what I do. So I have my younger brother who happens to be a fantastic photographer, like one of the best. I call him the best photographer in the world. Yeah. Let me blow his trumpet. So what he does is he goes with me because my work is mainly with young people. I've done projects and my base is Calabar, so I've done projects in the city, I've done projects in the rural areas of Cross River State. And aside that, I've done international projects. I've done projects in Ethiopia. I've done projects in the Gambia. Well, all the international projects were funded. They were funded. But I think I'm going to dwell more on the early days because it helped me build a portfolio of work that funders eventually were bold enough to say, okay, you've done this, we can give you funds to implement this program. So what I did is I made sure I documented my programs. As I went to this community, my work is usually on soft skills development for young people. So this is one of the reasons why I wrote this book, Rising at Sunrise. It came out in March. The hard copy is a book of stories from 55 inspiring individuals of African descent from 26 countries. Most of them are US exchange alumni. So it's a very interesting book for young people because my work is in youth development. It has skills on positive self-concept, communication, resilience, adaptability, empathy, higher order thinking, which incorporates critical thinking skills and problem solving skills, collaboration, the art of collaboration, which is very important if you're looking to know how to build a team, to work with a team to produce results, entrepreneurial thinking, interdisciplinarity, and what's the last one? Inclusiveness. So it's a very interesting book. I came back from the US last month. I came back, I think, on the 28th because I was on a book tour, and we talked about a lot of things regarding the book, and I was at Michigan State University. But here is the point I'm trying to drive, still dwelling on community fundraising. I go to communities, rural communities. I hold this training for young persons, especially students in public schools who do not have access to soft skills training like this. And then we supplement it with textbooks and dictionaries and materials to support them with schools. Some of them we pay fees for them, and all of these things cost real money. So I make sure those things are documented. And I also make sure that my records are there, my financial records. And then I'm able to approach some persons who I know that are in my circle, maybe people who are related to my family, people I know through church or through different social circles. And I'm able to, talk to them about what I'm doing, and then also talk about it on social media. I'm able to talk about it with pictures. And to be quite honest with you, Nigerians are very generous people. I was able to get some very wonderful persons who, till this very day, have chosen to be active funders of my project at my organization. And I have had people who have also chosen to lend their expertise in different areas to help with programs, to help with projects, and that really helped me. And for years, I depended on that to implement this project, to support, or would I say to give volunteer stipend and to spend. And I mean, when I'm talking about funding, I'm talking about funding that runs in millions of naira a year for programs. Yes, we're not depending on grants for that, So for me, I feel that is one sustainable way. If you are able to build a web, a network of people who believe in what you are doing, if maybe you are trying to solve a health problem in your community, you developed an app, or you have, or maybe something regarding education or something regarding waste management. I mean, there are people who are interested in making this country better. There are people who are interested in moving communities forward, and they will not mind giving you the support that you need. So community fundraising is very, very important. It's not just to hold a launching event, but also to build that network, that network of people who would continue to support your program from time to time. so that in the future, as you are able to get grants, when you're able to get grants, those grants at least would help you do robust work, but you would not have to depend on grants for the sustainability of that program. So that's what I mean in that regard. So we go to the next slide. So another source for funding is government sources. Government sources. So here it says government sources have a much more formal application process. The government will publish through a request or solicitation, programs and activities it will support. In these notices, the government provides information on eligibility, program duration, activity, and services that you may provide, level of funding, and the procedures for awarding grants and contracts. So there are opportunities and for funding. There are different state government have ministries that are very, very involved in this. So you have, for example, in Cross River State, we have Ministry of Social Welfare, Ministry of Social Welfare, and I think is the same thing applicable to other states. So it's important to build relationship with these agencies. They would be able to you would be able to get updated on funding opportunities from the government, and by the time you are able to get the notice, you forward your application, and you are able to apply and possibly stand a chance of getting funding from the government for your program. So here it says tips for writing government proposals. Tips for writing government proposals. So it says a search sources for funding opportunities, including the Federal Register, Commerce, Business Daily, and newspapers. Place your organization on mailing lists. So sometimes these agencies send emails to people from time to time, and you get them if you're on their mailing list. So getting yourself on their mailing list is very important so that you can get updates whenever opportunity for funding comes up. So the third one we see here is download application forms from government website. There you can also find application forms, program funding guidelines, literature, and other information. So if you have applied for a grant from, for example, the US government, you'll see that there are certain forms you would need to download and fill those forms. Those forms are the template to get the information they need. So it's very, very important that you follow the process, because if you do not follow the process, you're not getting that funding. The fourth one says seek additional support to leverage project activity from local sources, including local government agencies. Very, very important. Number 5, designate one person to be responsible for coordinating your group's proposal. He or she will ensure that all the parts of the proposal are completed. The requisite number of copies are provided, and the proposal is delivered on time. The next one says seek advice, if needed, on the preparation of your proposal from the designated contracting officer. You will find contact information in the program application. And then read the request or solicitation for proposals carefully. I'll put an emphasis on carefully, reading the details carefully. And send any questions about its content to the contracting officer as soon as possible. And also review your proposal very carefully to ensure that you have provided all the information requested by the agency. So before I go further, we've already finished unit 5. Okay, there is something, a question I wanted to ask. I want us to go back to the slide. Let's go back to community fund fundraising. I want us to go back to that slide because we're going to dwell a bit on this too as we are at the end of the class. I want to hear from some of us our experiences, your experiences, because, like I said, amongst us are civil society professionals, that are part of this. So for them, this is like a refresher course. Your insight is very needed and will be greatly appreciated. I would like for you to, share your experience using community fundraising as one of your tools for raising financial resources for your program. I think I'm going to start with community fundraising. If you would like to share your experience, I would like you to indicate by using the lift of hand emoji. And our um, our coordinator will unmute you, and you will be able to share um, your insight. I think that's very important because this feedback, hearing from you, for me, is like the most important part of this training. So you could indicate by using a list of hand emoji and given an opportunity to speak and share.
So I guess if you can just indicate with a show of hand, and then
Yes.
you'll be able to speak.
Yes, please. Please feel free to share. Don't hoard information. Don't hoard information. We would love to hear from you. Okay, someone has used the chat box to share his insight. Let me try to see if I can open it.
Okay, we have a comment from, I need to rename you, but I've asked you to unmute. Please go ahead and tell us your name and your contribution.
Okay, we have a contribution there in the chat box while we wait for others to share. Mr. Benjamin Olorufemi says the majority of what we have done as an organization has been what we were able to raise from our community members, exactly, friends and family. Then people that get to see what we do through social media, our website handles that get to us and with their time and resources. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Benjamin, because for a lot of community-based organizations, for a lot of non-profits, this is the first way to start. And also, this is a sure way to ensure the sustainability of your programs, because if you are waiting for grants, you won't do anything. You won't do anything. And sometimes it might surprise you to know that you can get funds from your community that may rival, that surpasses even the grant you're seeking, many times. So I'm going to use a case study before we give room for others to speak. I'm going to use, for example, our religious centers in Nigeria, our churches. Churches are non-profit. For example, it doesn't matter how you see it, they are non-profit. You would rarely hear a church in Nigeria talk about applying for grants. I mean, yeah, one would say they have members, yes, but you see, they're able to leverage on that web. They have a web of members. They're able to leverage on that to get resources to implement their programs, their projects. And you have churches that are building hospitals, building schools. Okay, for example, we see the Catholic Church 50 years ago that sent missionaries to some parts of Nigeria. Were able to build schools, were able to build hospitals. How were they able to do that? It wasn't from grants applying to UN or the US Embassy. As good as that may be, I'm not saying you shouldn't apply for those grants, and we need those grants too. But for the sustainability of your program, building this web of supporters is very, 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 very important. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that contribution. Yes. We're still expecting to hear from a lot of you. Please, Cheryl, I want to hear from you as
well. We have Galaxy A30. I'll rename you as soon as you introduce yourself. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. I am Duru Regina from Reggie and Henry Amazing Grace Foundation based in Abuja. We work in the rural communities. We work in slums, targeting women, children, young adults. There's in this area of community funding, it has been like a strength to us. We have never gotten anything called grants. We don't even know the color of grants. And this community funding, we had a project we call Slum to School. That Slum to School is targeted at returning 100 children into school every year for the next 5-year project. So like
okay, I don't know if it's just me, but
in the next 5 years we're putting that last the flag we have done that of this year, and we're looking at all these activities. The strength of that program, the funding of that program basically is community. And that community we're talking about, even your family and friends, they form that community. Now, the community where we were able to, the first one we had it in Dusape and Kute in Buari is hinterland in Abuja. Now we discovered that even that those communities, they don't really have anything. But I tell you, the support was massive. It was massive. They were also the ones who told us who could give us some books, who told us who could give us some standouts. They supported us so much. We were able to gather a lot of things. We had school uniforms, we had school standouts, we had books, we had a lot of materials that we were able to do that project with. So in the area of community funding, which for me and for my organization that we have run for like 15 years now, community funding for us has always been our strength. What we actually do is that for any community that we want to do any project in, we gather them together. There's need for a lot of stakeholders meeting. In that stakeholders meeting, where you also let them know it is their project, you give them the ownership of the project. When they know that they own that project, you see them come up with ideas, how they are going to, how the project is going to run. They tell you a lot of things you don't know. Even with your design, you see yourself even redesigning the program to accommodate what they have, the inputs they are making. And you let them know. In fact, for us in that, even the Slum to School, we had chairman stakeholders forum. So when we have any upcoming letters, anything we want to do in that program, we bring the chairman steps it down to the stakeholders take it down to the community, and they give us feedback, and we continue like that. So we now our taking so each year, for the first one we did last year, for this year it got better because of the inputs from the communities. So for even the communities of next year, we're already aware, we're already talking with them for next year, which means time management is also very important. You should be able to, plan your programs ahead, because when you crash into this community, most of them are not able to, follow up with your expectation. But if you give them ample time and let them digest this program and know what they think, you will see them, you'll be surprised. Some of them have even contacts of people you never thought they could have. Because some of them had one contact or the other, maybe some of such people coming to their communities. In the last year program, we had a UNESCO Nigeria flag of that program. They are not our contacts, but it's part of the support that we got from them, from the community. So I think when we're even talking of the support that you can get from community. It's not usually naira and kobo. There's other things that are more even important than the naira and kobo to make the project work. So this is our own experience. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma, for that insightful contribution. And it has made us really, really come to embrace the truth that you don't need to depend on grants. As good as they are, you can get the support of your community. So thank you so much, Ma, for that contribution. Yeah. We're still open to hearing from other civil society experts to share their insights regarding community fundraising. So if you have something to share, we would like you to indicate by using the lift of hand emoji. And
Yeah.
Ms. Adesanya will bring you up.
Okay. Kudirat, kindly unmute yourself and contribute.
Kudirat, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Kudirat. We don't have any audio from your end. Let's quickly move to Benin City while you work on the audio. No, we cannot hear you. Benin City? Benin City?
Hello,
Okay.
good morning, everyone. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
yes,
you.
we can.
Okay. My name is Samantha. I've actually been doing some stuffs for a while now, and um, I've been leveraging on friends, people who believe in what I do. I send messages, like my last event was in May, I had event on social vices. So what I do is I send messages to friends like, you can help me get chairs, 10 chairs for 10 students to sit on when they come for the event, something like that. You can pay for one room for a hotel room for a guest speaker. So those are the things I'm doing. Then I have another one for November. For that one, it's the same thing I'm doing, but somehow I've been able to get sponsorship from Indomie and Coca-Cola. I think those are the bodies that I've been able to get a sponsorship from, apart from friends and relatives. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that contribution. Thank you so much. Thank you. We need to hear from more persons, a third person, at least for community fundraising. I would like to hear from one more person, and then we would go to fundraising from the government. And I would also want to hear from people who have successfully been able to get funds from the government for their program. But for this, we want to get the last person for community fundraising. Share your
Okay.
experience and insight.
A lot of hands have gone up, but let's go to American Kola Ikeja to quickly contribute. And then we'll move on with the session and maybe take this later on.
Okay, I see somebody else also wants to speak from American Center here.
Okay, let's go with Ikeja, then the center.
All right.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Adekunle Are. I want to contribute a little on this fundraising, community fundraising. There's an example I want to put forward. The community where I live, we put forward a program that we're going to have a health program. And by the time we were planning, putting the program together, we observed it's going to be capital intensive. But then we are not looking at the capital, we decide to develop the program itself. And we look at some of those indices that are needed. And we observe we need health crew, we need space, and quite a number of materials. So we got across to the local government using the CDA platform. We wrote to the local government chairman, and emanated our letters to the medical officer of health in the local government. I haven't gotten across to them. They said, oh, no funding, we don't have money. When it comes to money, no money. They said, okay, good. Do you have any NGO you've been liaising with in the past?
Okay, I think the network is really bad from Ikeja. So let's go to the American Center while they work on their network. Sorry about the break in transmission. Is the American Center ready?
Yeah, just
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's afternoon already. My name is Uigwe Nkiruka, and I'm speaking from American Center VI. Talking about community fundraising, just as Mrs. Duru rightly said, that sometimes it doesn't involve physical cash. It might be assistance from those within the community. Some time ago, I was involved in a project that my NGO collaborated with SFH, that's Society for Family Health, and the project was on in school, teaching them about sex education and stuff like that. So when I went to school in Owerri and I saw my environment and being in a university setting, and there were some children in the locales that were being abused and stuff like that, I felt the need to carry out a project, trying to educate them on that aspect of their life. So during my IT, I organized a program in one of the schools, and then with little materials available, I just told them my intention. I told the school management my intention and said, oh, okay, fine, you can go ahead. So I went ahead, and then I told the children I was supposed to concentrate on the females alone. But when I saw, how interested even the male folks were, I had to, merge them too in the project, and I involved some other teachers. So there was a general section and there was a separate section for both the male and the female. So during the separate section where we started talking about, puberty and some stages, there were some children that were eager to learn, because these days we find that some parents are not free to talk to their children when it comes to puberty changes and sexuality. So they were eager to learn. And then to be frankly, I didn't know it was going to go to that extent. So I didn't come with some materials. So it was during the course of the project that, some students and even their parents were supporting with materials, like the sanitary wares and, materials to aid the teaching. And at the end of the day, even the children and their parents were, glad that such a thing was organized, and they were encouraging me to, do more. So that's just my little contribution on the community fundraising. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So this has gone further to strengthen the idea that with support from your community, you can get that program running. You do not need to wait for funding from the US consulate. So while you wait for funding from the US consulate or from any other source, engage with your community. You will be amazed and you will be energized by the results. So I would like us to consider fundraising from government source. We've talked about it. I want to hear from some of our civil society professionals here, their experience getting funding from government, either the Nigerian government or the US government or any other government. How was the experience? What was it like? And what do you advise any civil society professional that is seeking to get funding from the government and maybe in the future, to support their program? So your insights will be greatly appreciated. If you have something to share, I would encourage you to indicate by using the list of hand, and we will identify you and give you a platform to speak.
Okay. I think Ikeja wanted to, they put it in the chat that they wanted to contribute with the last contribution. So there are lots of hands raised, but I don't know if it's for this new contribution or the last one. So please indicate, let us know. Okay. Regina.
Okay.
Hello.
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 Yeah, we can hear you. Good afternoon.
Okay. This is still Regina Duru from Reggie and Henry Amazing Grace Foundation. Okay, in the aspect of getting funding from government, I've never gotten one, but I know that the support that I have received from government was presence. Like if you're having a program, you invite them, they come around, they come and speak BB grammar, beautiful grammar, encouraging grammar, and they will say you will hear from them, and you never get to hear from them. So, but I am never deterred. Like if I'm doing any program that is related to your organization, maybe like health, I inform you, I am doing this for the sake of report writing. At this stage of the foundation, we are gradually beginning to know that it's difficult to get funding. In fact, when our facilitator was talking about the fundraising from government, as if I should use earbud and open my ears very well, as if is there anything I'm missing that I've not been able to do to get funding. We have written. In fact, sometimes you follow them up, they will tell you they can't find the letter. You keep coming with acknowledgement. You keep coming. At the end of the day, they will find out they will God helping you. They will come for that program. And most of them, do you know when they even come for that program, they will expect you to fund their transportation, that they were not giving transport to, as if, as I guess that this kind of work that we do, we're helping government. But when they come there, they look as if they are helping you to do the program. So, but I've not gotten from Nigeria, neither have I gotten from any other governments across the world. But I'm not deterred, like I said earlier. We're looking forward that someday we'll get even cash support from these people. But so far, this is what we have received on our own part. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma, for your contribution. We see Madam Kudirat.
Let's have gifts.
You have a contribution. Okay.
Let's have gifts first.
Okay. Yeah.
And then have Madam Kudirat.
Okay, thank you, Ma. What I want to just say is very brief. There was a time I was sourcing funds from a community to run a wash project. At least it's one stand in a government school where kids can wash their hands after playing. And somebody told me, a young man told me, NGO is for rich people. So if I know I cannot afford to put the stand by myself, why am I doing it? So he ended up discouraging others from supporting. So I will now, that thing that made me think, okay, if there could be a body in Nigeria, because at least there are specific things government needs to set aside fund for, especially for the NGO. Since their aim, their major role is to save life and property of their citizens. At least if there's a body that is regulating this money, because I know there are some money governments give sometimes to NGO and they'll just give it to anyhow person who is not even going to the grassroots to do the projects. But if you have a body, if you have an NGO, how many stop? If you have an NGO registered with this body, then when you have a project, if you meet up some certain things, they can give you funds to do that kind of project.
Thank you so much, Steve, for that contribution. And also thank you to the baby for our own contribution.
Yeah. Okay. Do you still want more contributions?
Yes,
Okay.
we have Kudirat. She wants
Okay.
to contribute. I hope she does.
All right. Madam Kudirat, please go ahead.
You could check your microphone to see if it is on mute.
We lost. She's not here. Okay, let's go to Lucy.
Okay. Hello everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thanks to the facilitator and the American Kuna. Fine. Even from the previous issue raised about community fundraising, fine. I'm from Lucy Dominion Foundation. And it has really been the source of our funding thus far. All right. Fine. It might not even fine. It's been like we've been having kind and cash. Even when you talk about some is it technical assistance, yes, we get all of this. So even when we draw our budget, we discover that most of those things are taken care of, due to the in-kind gifts we receive from them. But I want to say this concerning the government, in the aspect of government. Some years back, we wanted to carry out an awareness campaign to the secondary school to sensitize them about substance abuse. And then we decided to reach out to a leadership training, which is government owned within that area. Getting that, and then we're just even starting. Those were very the early days of our organization. Then when we got there, we met with the coordinator, and the coordinator told us that we have to bring up the national drug or the NDLEA, and while bringing them, we must pay for their honorarium. They quoted a particular amount of money, and even for them as well, this other government agency, the Leadership Training Center, we have to pay for honorarium for them, and then we must get a media team outlet who will also have to fund that. We are NGO and we are rich. Someone just talked about that, and it was really very discouraging because we felt that we were trying to help the government, just contributing a little quarter to support what the government is doing, and then we're taxed on such. It's a very discouraging. Fine, I'm coming from I'm a medical student, so if it comes to resources, we have a number of them. We fell back to our doctors, our residents who came from the National Association of resident doctors. We're giving a speaker, a past president, who is a psychiatrist, okay, who did justice to to the talk. Another one from M1, and that's how we're able to do this program. We just left those government agencies. So this can actually be discouraging, but God have actually been helping us, and we do our work without even reaching out to government. But we pray that even in the nearest future, we'll be able to have good collaboration with some of the government agencies without such issues. So this is just my contribution. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much. We're going to give more.
We don't have audio from Lucy.
Yeah. There is a question here by Sylvia Rowley, and I think I have to attend to it. It says, please, what about sourcing for funds / support from politicians? What about sourcing for funds / support from politicians? So here is what I think. Some people might generally say getting funding from politicians is wrong, but I don't think so. It all boils down to what are your values as an organization. If your values aligns with their values, if your goals aligns with their goals, there's nothing wrong. But where there is conflict, where they've agreed to say, oh, we want to fund you, we want to support you, but you would have to do certain things. And you discover that those things they need you to do for them is against your values as an organization. It's not in not in you both are not moving in are not in the same page, you're not in the same direction, then I think it would be a very costly thing to get funding from them. So the thing is, if they have shown interest to support you, you have to ask yourself, are their values the same with my values? The thing they are looking for, is it the same with mine? Because, I mean, there are many organizations that are funded by political groups. If the values are the same, there's nothing wrong with that. But when the interest and the values are not the same, no, it would be a very wrong mistake to bring yourself under that umbrella. So that's what I was saying. And if there is someone else who has something to share, I would really love to hear. Especially this is campaign season. The elections are coming, and these politicians are really, their eyes are shining like headlights. So the conversation could also help, to look at the ethical angle to it. And also, if you have contributions regarding fundraising for community and from government, because that angle is very integral, is very, very important. I feel like to hear. Yeah,
Okay.
Lillian Drew is saying, try not to get into a trap because of funding. Absolutely. Try not to get into a trap. I totally agree, especially from politicians. Someone says we should have something like Nigeria Association of Industry. I think there are associations like that. If you see anyone that agrees with what you're doing, to join them. All right, over to you, Stephanie.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Chibuzo. And thank you all for your wonderful contributions so far. Let's move over to Oshogbo Window on America, and then we'll take contributions from Benin City. Oshogbo, over to you.
Please, we have two persons here who have contributions to make on the two questions raised. Then we take them one after the other.
All right. Thank you very much for letting us know.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Michael Ebofi, and I work for Moalek Center for Sustainable Community Development in Osun here, in Oshogbo. Well, number one, for community fundraising, I think many people have spoken extensively on this issue. Well, I believe that sometimes we don't really have to be expecting financial support from some other people, while we still have to build the strength, the capacity of the people we work with, especially some of the projects we're working on female genital mutilation. We are depending on the efforts of some students in schools for surveillance and also for reporting, because we have been lagging behind in all this. And that is why we still have it being practiced all over. That's one. Another part is that of traditional rulers. We try work alongside with them so as to really handle some of these domestic violence and some others too, aside FGM, but other domestic violence being perpetrated against girl child. And that is that. For government fundraising. Anyway, we have not been receiving funds from government, though we've been having partnership with them, inviting us to collaborate with them, while we still use some of our partnership with them in getting data, and also to even invite them to some of the activities, especially to some issues that are most relevant to them. Though it is possible too that maybe some of their staff may be requesting for tea fare after the program says anything for us. We say, okay, well, if we have any peanut transportation, we give out. But if anyone wants to load it over us, I think we do communicate with their bosses. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. My name is Wokocha Chijoke. For government fundraising, I think we have indirectly gotten, not necessarily the fund right now. Okay, I can remember vividly our last some programs that we did February this year. All right, so we wrote to the government, and fortunately we were able to meet with the permanent secretary for youth and sports. Now, this was a campaign geared towards fitness campaign against drug abuse. Now, the permanent secretary was like, okay, what do your organization need for this project to hold? And I listed them. And she said, okay, we are going to give you stadium free of charge. And now the stadium, people pay 200,000, 150,000 for this stadium, right? And they are giving it to us free of charge for us to hold our fitness campaign. And there are some other things that we got that was not monetized, but they gave it to us at free will. And I believe it all boils down to good rapport with that particular representative of the government. Yes, we understand that government hardly give out funds to support others, but I think there are some other things they can actually do for the organization to hold whatever program they want to hold. So I will say, per se, our organization have benefited from the government, per se, in aspect of giving us facilities to work with. So that's my contribution here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that contribution. There's been so much to learn from all that you guys have shared this afternoon, and we're truly grateful. We're still open to more contributions regarding fundraising for community and from government, because I mean, this is very, very important. It's very important.
Yeah.
It's an integral part of program development.
Okay, let's move over to Benin City real quick, and then we'll go back to Ikeja. Hopefully your network is now stable. So Benin City.
Oh, sorry, we've did blow our hand. We've made our contributions. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's have Ikeja.
Okay, good afternoon. As I've earlier said before, it's the network that stopped. Concerning community fundraising, I start all over. It was when we saw it and we want to do the program, it was capital intensive. So we now decide to use the government structure. So we wrote to the local government to know what they have. And when we got to him, he said, there's no money. He said, okay, no problem. He now passed our letter to the medical officer of health in the local government, whom we had a meeting with. And she said, really, there's no funding. And we said, okay, do you have doctors? Do you have nurses? He said, yes, we have. But we don't have money to pay them. We said, that's not the problem. Just assure us of the doctors and nurses. They said, okay, do you have ambulance? He said, yes. Can you make them available on the said date? They said, yes, they can be available. They said, okay, do you have health educator? They said, yes. Can she be available? They said, yes. Okay. And I said, do you have any NGO you worked with in the past? They said, oh, we can remember one Ajoke Aishat Afolabi Foundation. I said, give us the contact. They said, okay, this is the contact. Right there, we contacted them. And they said, we should come over to the office. From the local government, we move to the office. And we go to the office, they say, oh, that they are actually looking for a community where they can do their last quarter, the first quarter health program. But then they are not promising us that we should write officially, which we did. That's for my community. And after 3 or 4 days, and he came for the reply, and then they said, we can come over for a discussion. And we got there, they said, well, they have approved the dates that we can go out with the plan. But what do we have? We said, well, we have space for you. We have chairs, we have canopies, we can provide lights. They said, oh, beautiful. So they just took it off from there, and the program was a great success. And in essence, my community is always ready for any NGO. So we always make things easy for them. And there are quite a number of communities too that are like that it won't be easy for you because we understand the local structure. So we know how to pass certain things through. So actually, some of the money we use were not direct, let me say, in materials, because as well, we reach out to all the pharmaceutical, since it was a health program, all the pharmaceutical stores around. We wrote to them. Some of them give us money, some of them give us health materials, and we were not lagging in anything at all. and the program was a great success. So we can utilize, if we understand the local structure in any way we want to do our programs, it will be easy because the people there can assist to use. So we can lower the cost of the NGO that is coming as well. In fact, I believe Mrs. Ademoko is online now, if not. She mentioned in that program that they will go to, that share burdens of the program. We may not be able to access finance direct from the government, just as one of the contributors has said, but there are other things that government has in place that we can access that can help our programs. Lastly, August 22nd, I think, it's always the World Youth Day. So we organize a program on that day for youth within our community, and we were looking for, we did outdoor sports, indoor sports. So in our indoor sports, we have quite a number of to do, but we don't have those materials. So we reach out to sport, and they said, oh, they can't provide us with funds, but the center at Ayobo has all the materials that we will need, that we can just go there, take them over to our center and return. So instead of us, trying to find money to buy all those things, they gave us the contact and we link up with the contact, and the contact gave us everything that we needed. So we just went there, we took them over, and we returned all we need to return after the program. So funds from government can be accessed through materials or other structures they have in place that can aid whatever program we want to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that contribution. Thank you so much. I believe that this part of our session for program development today is quite interesting, hearing from different persons and their experiences, raising funds from their communities, and also raising funds and support from the government. Because sometimes I have met a lot of persons who keep narrowing their minds to, I need to apply for grants, I need to apply for grants. And they end up, the work ends up being paralyzed. Nothing goes on because you feel, no, I'm not going to ask people for money. You need people to make programs work. You need people to make projects work. How are you going to go about that? How are you going to sustain the program, even after you've gotten grant funding? How are you going to ensure the sustainability of that program? So this is very important. There was something one of the contributors said, which is something that I have also heard too. People say it is only rich people that have NGO. And that's a blatant lie. And I think that idea is very, very flawed. It is flawed for a lot of reasons because you're trying to tell people not to take responsibility for effecting change in their community just because of their financial state. Many of the people that are driving change in their community are not rich. They're just passionate about change. And they're able to galvanize support from both the wealthy and not so wealthy to see that this need is met. So let's not be discouraged or be deceived by that thinking that NGO work has to be for those who have piled up huge amounts of money and then say, oh, now I can effect a change in my community. If you're waiting for that, things are going to collapse and you're still not going to get rich at the end of the day. So it's your passion for service. That is what drove you to go about that project, that program. And like we heard one of our first contributors say, for 15 years, she has not won any grant. She doesn't know what grant looks like. Yeah, there are so many persons that are doing huge, successful, incredible work in their localities that have not gotten grants. One might ask, why haven't they been able to get grants? Grant is not everyone is going to get grant. I mean, they will tell you, even when you submit your application and then they tell you, sorry, we can't respond, whether it's applications to the government, sorry, the Nigerian government or the US government or the government of any other country. And they or maybe a big organization. They could tell you, oh, sorry, we had too many people apply. Your application was so good, but we could only respond to a limited amount of individual organizations. What are you going to do? Are you going to throw tantrums, become angry, the US government, people are not helping anybody? And is that what you're going to do? You go about your work, keep doing what you're doing, and you see it grow. Many organizations that have grown so big to the point that they have built solid partnerships with the US government started from community fundraising. And their work grew and got the attention of people, including the government and the US government. That was how they were able to get strategic partnerships, strategic institutional partnerships. That's it. So don't wait. That doesn't mean you can't apply for grants. You could start from little. There are grants funding for $1,000, $2,000, $4,000. I encourage people to start from those little while you still have your community fundraising, intact. You start from those little to just get supplementary support. Because for me, I feel that grants from the government, and when I say government, I don't just mean the Nigerian government. I mean the US government, European government, the government of any nation that is looking to provide funding for intervention work in Nigeria, for example. While you go about that, make sure you have your community fundraising intact. Make that your foundation. And then eventually you could just start applying. Those are just supplementary. Just help you, bolster your work and make it grow and become bigger. But if the grant funding doesn't come, my work will still continue. Will still continue. Okay, so Gift is asking, where can we access those little funding? I know of the pollination project. The pollination project, you could write it down and then Google later. They give little grants, 1,000. A lot of people get to win those grants. It's an organization, not a government. It's an organization that handles that. And then the US government support, to the best of my knowledge, the US government happens to be, the pollination project, yes. The US government happens to be, to correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel that they are the biggest sponsor of intervention programs compared to other governments. And there are lots of US exchange programs, and some of these programs are designed such that when these civil society leaders or these entrepreneurs or these leaders in general or professionals go to the US to benefit on this exchange program, by the time they return, they are given access to funding, of course, which they should apply for, and it's competitive. They're given access to funding of $4,000, $5,000, $10,000, $25,000, and that helps. That helps a lot. So I'm going to use myself as an example. I am a 2018 Mandela Washington Fellow. So after the program in 2018, I applied for what used to be the Collaboration Fund Grant, which is now called the LINK Grant. LINK is leveraging innovation in new companies. So in 2019, I won a small grant of less than $4,000 to implement a project in Ethiopia. And I was able to do that. But of course, because of my track record, doing projects already from the community, raising funds from my community to implement programs. And I got that grant and implemented that international project with my collaborators successfully. Then the following year, I won another grant, the LINK grant. I implemented that project in Gambia. That was February 2020, just before the pandemic. And that project was, I mean, with my experience, one of the things about starting small and getting, funding from your community or all of these small funding groups is that it teaches you how to be very frugal and how to ensure that you use limited financial resources to implement significant programs. Because you could design a program and then you see that it's going to take a lot. Learning to gather resources from your community teaches you accountability, because of course people in your community want to know how many people have you reached, what have you done. So it puts that in you to learn how to use people's money wisely and document properly. And that qualifies you eventually to win the trust of governments and other big organizations that may want to fund that particular program. So I was able to do that program successfully. I remember the US ambassador to Gambia invited my collaborator and I to the US embassy in, I think, Serekunda, close to Andrew, and had asked us questions about the program, what we intend, and our sustainability plan. So we shared it with him, and he asked us to apply. There was an opening at the embassy there. He asked us to apply. But sadly, COVID came, embassies shut down, a lot of things couldn't happen. Throughout that year, we couldn't really do it. But it gets to show us how the trajectory of things can be when we start from little, start with our community, and build trust, grow our work. Funders will now see the work we have done. Government will see the work we have done and will be able to support. And let's not feel that one can get funding from government. One can get funding from government. Like I mentioned, Ministry of Social Welfare. If you have a ministry like that in the state, try to build rapport with the commissioner or the people there. I know it's tough. I know this is Nigeria, but people are getting funding. It's very much possible. But it happens many times when the work is visible. And see what you're doing, your pictures, you have your data, when you have not really shown strong evidence, or you have not really shown a track record of implementing programs of even up to a million naira. So that's what I would say in that regard. I don't know if there's anyone who has something else to share still regarding on community fundraising and fundraising. If you notice, we've dwelt so much on that, and here is the reason why I want to discuss on that, because in our next class we'll be looking at budget. So from all of these conversations we are having, it is going to serve as a strong premise for that conversation that we will be having on Thursday. Yes, so Madam Ademola is saying something here. She said, most times it looks like your work is invisible, but trust your urge to solve a problem. People are watching. The idea is to build your capacity. Absolutely. So before I hand over to Stephanie, there is someone, let me check. There are contributions in the chat box. I want to make sure I don't miss any. Okay, Ask Foundation grant is on. Please. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for sharing. So please, if there are funding opportunities, you could help one another share those funding opportunities so that people can apply, because we have a strong civil society community in Nigeria. People are doing incredible work, and they are the ones keeping this country alive, to be honest with you. So before I hand over to Stephanie, I just want to make an announcement. If you are interested in this book, Rising at Sunrise, I want to make it available at almost little, I don't know, I'm giving you like 70% discount on this. I don't know, it's like the network has come back. Okay, so Rising at Sunrise, I want you could write to me via the email if you need it, the Sunrise Youth Project at gmail.com. Yeah, some persons are complaining about the network. I hope you can hear me. Yes. So you can write to me. We want to make sure that we are making the material available for you. We're not making profit from it. We're only considering production costs and shipping costs. We want you to access it. If you run an organization that works with young people, or as a person you are thinking of donating books to a school library, I bet you Rising at Sunrise is the book for it. It is the book for that agenda. Young persons need to be inspired by the stories of other young Africans. And it will really help go a long way in doing that. So my email is the Sunrise Youth Project at gmail.com, all in small letters. The Sunrise Youth Project and gmail.com. And we will talk via email. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Steph.
All right.
Sorry,
Amazing.
Stephanie. Someone has a question. Yeah. If we can you take that?
The email, yes, the Sunrise Youth Project at gmail.com. Okay, someone has a question. We can take the question.
Okay. Good day, everyone. Once again, my name is Nkiru Kamigwe. I'd like to ask the speaker for today a question. We looked at Unit 3, and then he talked about setting goals, and then I came in at that point. So he was trying to explain for a goal to be achievable that there's need for the bright spots and land mail to be considered. So I'd like him to throw more light on that. The blind spots, the bright spots and land mail for achievable
Okay,
goals.
thank you so much. Yes, so I talked about the blind spot, the bright spot and the land mine. That is so important in ensuring that your goal is met, that your goal is achievable, because you, like we talked about on Thursday, you have to weigh the pros and cons. The bright spots are the positive that the organization, that the program, that program is bringing, the advantages, the good things that the intervention is bringing to that community, that locality, that demographic. The landmines are the threat to that program. What are the things that may pose as threat to this program? Because as this program has come to stay in this community for this period of time to produce the results that we seek, well, we have to consider the things that may interfere with the workability of that program in that locality. So I have used the example of, let's say you're going to the north. Let's say you're going to the north to implement the program. Maybe it's a program on health that would benefit women in that locality. Or maybe let's use a program on education that would benefit women. You also have to consider bandit attacks. There are people that are like, no, you're not supposed to do this for women. You know, we are not in support of any program that is to provide education for women. We're against you. So those are the landmines. And that's an example of what a landmine is. So it's important that before going to a community, you have to weigh all of this properly. The advantages, the good things, the right things that this intervention is bringing, and also the things that may pose a threat to this intervention, and what we can do to curb them, to make sure that they do not uproot us or completely ruin what we're looking to be in this place. So yeah. I don't know if that answered question.
I believe so. And if you have a follow-up question, you can please raise your hand again. We'll be happy to take that question. I think Gift is raising a hand. Question or contribution?
No, I'm very satisfied. Just to say thank you to our moderator for today, and to also to say thank you to you, Sister Stephanie. I'm really encouraged because I was almost giving up. Since they said this for rich people, let me wait and make money before I continue. But with today's class, my spirit come back to life again. I think I should get back to work hopefully next month. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you for joining this class.
That's good news. We're happy to hear that. Thank you for, Chibuzo, this has reignited her passion, and we thank you for doing this. And of course, thank you to the American Spaces in Nigeria for the platform to share this wonderful information to all our participants today. Do we have any questions from our locations or from anybody on the call this afternoon? The session is gradually coming to an end. It's been an amazing one. I'd say it was really interactive and very engaging. So thank you again, Chibuzo. Let's see if we have questions or final contributions. American Corner Ikeja, let's have you.
Good morning. Afternoon, sorry. My name is Umar. And in fact, I have to thank for the US government for coming up with this a wonderful program. And we don't have much to give you, rather, we keep praying for your governments, for your possible contribution toward the building the nation. Thank you very much. I have a challenge. I'm running an NGO, which is ICC.
The network is off again. Let's give them a few minutes to reconnect. Gift, did you have another? Okay, the hand is down now. Okay. American Corner Ikeja, please go ahead. Okay, we lost them. Network challenge has been a problem with the location today. But do we have any other question or contributions from anybody else while we wait for Ikeja to reconnect? Okay, I believe Ikeja is back. Please, straight to the point to avoid being disconnected again. Okay, let's go.
And like I said earlier, I have NGO, which is ICC&S, Inter-Community Crisis Management and Sustainability. And in this my NGO, I can't do without a government because government has a very large role to play because we are talking of inter-community crisis management and sustainability. My organization came in when there's a crisis. And the challenging I'm having is that I can't do anything because the crisis has to be out before my organization can have to weigh in because it's dealing with inter-community crisis. And of which I state that government has a very 90% role to play was that in every community we are now, the government has a very role because inter-boundary adjustment is one of the main problems that is facing the community. And when such crisis emanated, there is a way government has to play a role. And before government came in, we, the NGO that managing the community, we have to look one way or the other to bring the crisis together or under control before the government come in. So I've been having a kind of a challenges in bringing those people to the table for round table discussion, because we are talking of the boundary adjustment crisis, which is one of the, currently in the whole world, that is one of the big challenges every community is having now. So I implore you, the United States government, to come to the aid, because government alone cannot do everything. So please, we kindly need your assistance to wade in before the crisis even emanated. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. I don't believe that was a question for you. That was just a suggestion or contribution. But we're very well noted. Thank you very much for sharing. Do we have any other question or contribution? Okay, I don't see anything in the chat. Thank you all so much. All right, in the absence of no other question, can we please appreciate our speaker for today? Can we appreciate him one more time? Can we please appreciate him again? Let's put our hands together for our speaker again. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Oshogo. Thank you. He has mentioned that you should please reach out to him. I put the email in the chat. This book, very important. If you'd like to get a copy, please reach out to him. I have my own copy right here, and we had a book reading, like I said, truly, truly inspirational. You should get a copy if you'd like one. Okay. Quick announcement before we go. Certificates for all the sessions have been issued. I believe we've gotten ours at the American Corner Ikeja, and we've given it out to the participants that, of course, qualified and had 80% attendance at the space. So if you don't have 80% attendance, stop harassing people that they've not given you your certificate, okay? But if you do, if you know that you have had the attendance up to date, please reach out to your directors and see about collecting your certificates from them. But I would say that we have had all the certificates, it's up to date now, right? Up until needs assessment. And, of course, we want to thank the American Center and everyone working hard to ensure that these certificates are issued. It's not easy. Trust me, it's not easy. So many participants, so many locations, and so many people. It's just not easy, but we want to thank everybody for making it happen and for issuing our certificates. Our next session is on Thursday, same time, 11 a.m. We look forward to having you all join us again. Thank you all for the chats, for the engagements, for the contributions. We've come to the end of our session today. So on behalf of the American Corner Ikeja, myself, everyone, I'd like to say thank you one more time, and we'll see you again same time next week, Thursday. Yes. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right.
So
bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, and bye-bye, everyone. See you again next week.